back to another episode of Catholic Conversations. I'm your host, Joelle Zarnowski, and today we are joined by Kristin and Eric Dievendorf. Kristin works in our Family Respect Life office here at the diocese. Eric is obviously her husband. And since we're celebrating World Marriage Week this week, we just had World Marriage Day on Sunday with the Mass at the Cathedral. We wanted to have you guys on to talk about your experience as a married couple, and you're also a mentor couple for our engaged couples that are going through marriage preparation here in the diocese. So thank you for being here today, first of all. And just to start off, can you tell our listeners a little bit about your marriage journey and what inspired you to become a mentor couple for our engaged couples?
So, I think I'll go first. Mm-hmm. And I think that, when we were getting married, we knew how important mentorship was. We leaned into the people that we knew and loved, and we just wanted to learn as much as we could to help set ourselves up for success. So we met maybe about, I don't know, it feels like forever ago, but we've been married for 15 years now.
There you go. Congratulations.
And, thank you. And I think we've gleaned some things. We've been through some great highs and lows. We've had some different challenges, and I think we've came up stronger through those different things. And I think it's important to give back, from our faith, what we learn, what we grow through, and to know that others are going through similar things, to be able to give them tools and support and encouragement is something that we were always passionate about and always wanted to offer.
Oh, that's great. And Eric, how about you?
Yeah, that life is all about learning and taking opportunities to learn. So as we were getting ready for marriage, we both had great parents that we were able to learn from growing up, but to be able to learn from other people as well, get different perspectives on marriage and married life. And then, once we'd been married a few years, decided, there's a lot of people that could use a little more advice, and we've learned these things. It would be great to share and give back, like those who talked to us when we were coming up in marriage. So
yeah,
that kind of drove us to mentorship as well.
Wonderful. All right. So can you talk about why you feel mentorship is so important for those that are experiencing this preparation before they, go into the Sacrament of Matrimony?
Yeah. Well, I think a couple of things. I think the joining of two lives is a beautiful, beautiful gift. And I think that it takes time to learn and grow with one another. And you do that throughout your entire relationship. It doesn't just end when you get married.
Right.
And so I think the more that you can absorb and learn and be guided through that process, both before and after you're married, can be really, really grounding for couples. So, the life's ups and downs, that everyone experiences with their unique gifts, their unique weaknesses, and life happens.
Yeah.
We went through infertility, we went through the adoption process, we have a special needs child, we have had, all the financial things that happen to families when, owning a home and everything. So there's a lot of unexpected things. So the more that you can learn how to deal with and how to respond to those things together, is very important. And so I think we learned a lot from, as Eric mentioned, our families. We were grateful to grow up with great families, but also to learn from other people. And I think from a faith perspective, to meet with a couple in, Catholic couple who has been married for 45, 50 years, mm-hmm. to be able to walk with them and learn from them about the things we hadn't experienced yet, was just very valuable. And even before I joined our office, I accompanied women who are struggling with infertility, which mm-hmm. is a very heavy cross.
Absolutely.
And I think for them to have somebody who's been through it before, has come to a place of peace, is very, very valuable. And those same principles that we do with that ministry can be applied to ministry to pre-Cana couples or couples who are post-marriage, learning new things, encountering the first big challenge of their early married life, and can encounter some of those things. And I think, some of the women that I met with too, through the infertility journey, were saying their husbands, also were struggling. And so I'm like, Eric, would you be willing to talk to some men, some husbands who are doing?
I do think that's a side of it that we don't hear from a lot. I think that women are becoming more empowered and comfortable in talking about their struggles, but I do think that we don't hear the male side of it as often. So that's great to hear that you're able to provide that support to some of these husbands who are, going through that struggle with their wife. Like, it's not just her that's struggling through this, it's him too, it's their family. So I'm sure that had to be a unique experience for you as well.
Yeah, it was, and something that I've learned a lot from, and again, want to, kind of be a voice to others that are going through that and may not know where to turn.
Yeah.
And similar to just marriage mentoring, that there's a lot that we don't know that we don't know.
Right.
And, to be able to hear somebody that has been through some things to, especially in the marriage mentoring, asking questions about how would you respond to this hypothetical, or how do you manage this piece of your relationship, finances, communication, things that can be a real deal breaker down the road. Leading causes of divorce are usually communication and finances.
Right.
Even if you think that you're in good shape on that when you're dating and engaged, there's still a lot to learn. We're still learning a lot 15 years in, and my parents and her parents are still learning a lot after 50 years, 40 something years. So, it's a big learning process. We never stop learning. So,
right.
Be able to provide what we learn to others and kind of speed up their learning curve is a great opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So what are some of the common challenges and concerns that you see with some of your engaged couples, and how do you help guide them through that?
Yeah, I think Eric hit on some of the very common areas. Like, we do a Prepare Enrich study that gives an inventory, that gives some feedback on these are areas of strength, these are areas of compatibility, and here are differences that are worth talking through. And so, finances is a big one. The parenting styles comes up a little bit too, and the communication. And, we've been, I don't know, I personally have been surprised at how well a lot of the couples have rated on their communication, which is really good.
Great.
But that's still something that is important to come back to, because the way you communicate when things are going well is a little bit different than when things are not going well and everybody's dealing with their own stress.
Right.
So I think that those things, going back to the basics and covering that, we always go through communication, just like my colleague Maria Clowder, who's an amazing mentor. She and her husband Ken have been doing it for many years in the South, in the Binghamton area.
Yes.
And so I think one thing Maria really emphasizes is they always go over communication with every couple, because that's a foundational thing. We also have a lot of couples that have children from previous relationships that are getting married. So that's an important thing to talk about, is blending the families. How are the children going to be impacted? What are different expectations about parenting and about those sorts of things, which is good for, couples who also haven't had kids yet,
right,
to hypothetically talk about those things in the future. But how folks deal with stressors, their expectations of how much time to spend with each other. What is that, couple time? What is that independent time? How do you merge those things together? Because each member of the couple might have different expectations, but when they're asked about that, we don't tell them how to live their lives, but we ask and inquire and ask for them to give their own internal reflection and talk about that together.
Yeah. So more, you're guiding them through figuring it out for themselves. You're not telling them how they should live. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's what therapists do, right?
Yeah.
So it's like a little form of couples therapy almost. But no, that's great. I mean, you're giving them the tools that they need to be successful in their marriage and to be a healthy and strong couple, which I think is great. They're just basics in a relationship that you're providing to them.
Yeah.
So that's wonderful.
Yeah. And another thing too, I think, kind of along those lines is how important it is for couples to be reminded that they're not in it alone. Whether that be communally, through relationships, or whether that be with God. I think the fact that they're coming to receive a sacramental marriage versus a civil marriage or whatnot means that we do affirm for them that God is invested in their success too.
Right.
And I think that can hopefully take a little bit of the pressure and anxiety that they might have of, we're doing this on our own, to be able to return to the Lord and get their strength from the Lord. I think that's an empowering gift that we have in the sacrament. and that these graces are real. They're very tangible. We might forget about them, overlook them, but they're there present in everyday living. So I do try to remind our mentor couples about their belovedness, of their giftedness, and that they can see that in each other, because that will help them through, all the different unexpected things they might encounter.
Right, absolutely. That's great. So going right into the next thing that I wanted to talk about was, how does faith play a role in the marriage? You talked about it a little bit, but how does it play a role in building a strong, lasting marriage for couples?
Yeah. I think it's that groundedness in, we are all destined for heaven. Like, that's how God created us. That's our ultimate fulfillment. And everything in this life is building towards that. So our vocations are living that out within the context of daily life. So I think for a couple to realize that God desires for their good, and God loves them, and God is working through their different choices and circumstances for that end goal. I think that helps put into perspective the gravity of the things we experience, the trials that we experience, to know that God wants to see us through that, because what lies ahead is so much more greater, so much more beautiful, so much more fulfilling. But it's amazing because we could look at the beauty of what our marriage is. We could look at the beauty of what we experience as a family and know that we're blessed in how amazing this is. Like, the fact that that's going to be even greater in heaven is, to me, an amazing thing. So I think I could go on and on and on about this, but I'll give Eric a chance to share as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things with keeping faith central to your marriage is that we believe that God created each of us for a purpose, and that God knows us better than anyone does. And to be able to keep God central in the relationship is a great blessing, to be able to understand our spouse better, and to be able to ask for guidance on how to handle things in a better way, and to become better people for our spouse, to seek his guidance and blessing in that, I think is a great opportunity. And then from having our relationship with each other, and then hopefully having children as part of the relationship, to be able to see how those real world everyday relationships we're in translate to God's relationship to us. And the stories that we hear from the Bible of God as the Father and Christ as the bridegroom, and all the family related stories in the Bible just click a little better once you're in those situations.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So for couples who are listening who are already married, what encouragement or advice would you offer to them, and just to help them continue to grow in their vocation of marriage?
Experience is a wonderful teacher. And I think for those who have experienced life together, and in this world where it is, we see 50% of marriages fall apart. For those who have succeeded by the grace of God, by their hard work, their efforts, I think that they have something to show, a sign of hope that young couples need. Many couples who are getting married don't have solid relationships in their families that they can turn to and learn from. A lot of them are seeking different perspectives. They want to know, they want to learn, they want to be able to share what they have in their own relationship, and they want to connect. And I think that the importance of connection with community is a powerful resource to help safeguard and strengthen marriages. And so there are a lot of strong young couples that are have a lot to offer. And that doesn't mean that their marriage is perfect. There's no perfect marriage this side of heaven.
No.
Even, we think about even the Holy Family. Mary and Joseph, they lost Jesus for 3 days.
Yes.
I can't imagine if we lost our son
for 3 days.
For 3 days.
Yes.
Like, how horrified they must have felt. So if our Blessed Mother, who we believe as Catholics, she was spared from original sin, if they could incur and experience something like that, I think we can find some hope. We don't need to be perfect. We just have to be trying. And being that model of a couple that is doing their best to try, has learned some things and is willing to offer that and willing to give encouragement and support to others is very much needed. So we could use some more mentors.
Yeah, that would be amazing. And Eric, how about you?
Yeah, I think, continue to take opportunities to learn. There's always more to learn about each other. Take a chance to every now and then just, what's a story you've never told me? Something that happened in high school or middle school or, a family trip when you were a kid or, just learning those little things. And then also challenging yourselves to experience new things. And it's easy to fall into, a routine and the same old, and, go to a different restaurant than you usually do, or take a drive in the country and just talk, or, try a new style of music, put it on and see what you both think about it. And, just find little ways to change things up a little bit here and there.
Yeah.
And I have to say, there are so many times I can look at our marriage where I just see the support that Eric's given me to pursue things that I'm passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
And he's never said no. He's never tried to diminish or discourage me. He's always thought, how can we make this happen? How can we help? And I want to do that for him too. Like if he's interested in something new, I want to help encourage him to discover that new thing. So I think that excitement about discovery is important. And that's something in our marriage prep class, the Pagets talk about so much. It's so critical to, helping keep that marriage alive and thrive and for people to grow. And I think if you nurture your spouse's need for growth and, you be your spouse's champion, encourage them to pursue those things. I think that, that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. That's wonderful. Well, thank you so much again for being here with us today and all of your advice and your experience. And for our listeners that may be engaged, newly engaged, maybe you're thinking about proposing, you can find all the information about our marriage preparation programs right on the diocesan website under the Family Respect Life office. They have everything there. You can give them a call if you have questions. And again, thank you guys so much for being here today.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Yeah, and we will see you guys next week.